The week's end top stories at NBR. Talent is the single biggest risk facing directors. Former Westpac chief executive appointed new chair of KiwiRail. Influx of superyachts expected. And there's more coming right up. Kia ora and welcome to NBR This Week. We start with a wrap of the end of the week's top business stories from the authority in New Zealand business news since 1970, nbr.co.nz. Then we'll take a look back at the top NBR Today stories from the past week. I'm Paul Brennan. Thanks again for joining us. Close to a third of directors say access to talent is the single biggest risk facing their organisation, a marked shift from last year when many were thinking about possible restructuring. And the number of boards engaging on climate issues has also jumped. The Institute of Director and ASB's latest Director Sentiment Survey says. Joining the NBR's Hamish McNicol was Institute of Directors Chief Executive Kirsten Patterson.
The thing that really stands out this year in the survey results, well beyond any of the other measures, is the number of boards who are saying that people and that war for talent is the big issue that they're most concerned about. That's the number one issue they've said that's keeping them awake at night. Institute of Directors Chief Executive Kirsten Patterson with Hamish McNicol there. Former Westpac Chief Executive David McLean has been appointed the new chair of the troubled state-owned enterprise KiwiRail Holdings Limited. McLean takes on the role from January 1st and comes into an organisation reeling from the death of its former chair, Brian Corbyn, in May and the sudden resignation of Chief Executive Greg Miller on November 24th in the wake of criticism of his leadership style, which was first reported by NBR. Finance Minister Grant Robertson said he and SOE Minister David Clark were confident that McLean would provide additional governance oversight for KiwiRail. The border reopening early next year is expected to bring an influx of superyachts into New Zealand waters, directly contributing an estimated $150 million to the economy. Before the COVID pandemic in 2019, 40 superyachts visited New Zealand, each having an estimated weekly spend of between $40,000 and $68,000 on fuel, boutique shopping, provisions and hospitality, racking up about $3 million in total spend, including servicing. Superyacht agency 37 South Yachts director Ben Osborne said he was expecting the number of superyacht visitations to increase to 50 or more in 2022. He joined NBR's Andrew Bevan.
I'd say the superyacht industry's done reasonably well off the back of COVID. Early on, people were quick to see the value of having a yacht that they could go to. It was a safe, secure location. There's been a huge increase in new builds. Brokerage market's been really hot for probably about 18 months now.
37 South Yachts director Ben Osborne with Andrew Bevan there. Liquidators of the defunct Bitcoinica cryptocurrency exchange says there is still no time frame for distribution to investors, despite court approval in Japan for rehabilitation of the Mt. Gox exchange, where its assets are held. At current Bitcoin prices, claims from Bitcoinica's platform users have a dollar value of about $8.9 billion. Bitcoinica collapsed in mid-2021 after reporting repeated thefts of Bitcoin through its servers. The first report from liquidators Anthony McCullough and Stephen Lawrence of PKF Corporate Recovery said investor claims as of November 2012 totaled 65,057.44 Bitcoins and US dollars of 159,728. But those accounts were held at Japanese cryptocurrency exchange Mt. Gox. Subsequent reports said liquidators could not access those accounts because Mt. Gox refused to accept that Bitcoinica was the holder of any accounts at Mt. Gox. The Japanese exchange itself collapsed in April 2014 and its bankruptcy process remained unresolved until a creditor vote. Those are our top stories as we head into the weekend, the full versions of which, along with all our breaking business news, columns and opinion, are at nbr.co.nz right now. This is NBR This Week, a brief look back now at the week's top stories from our daily video business news bulletin, NBR Today. From Monday, spotlight on unregulated markets. The Financial Markets Authority, FMA, is taking a hard line on unregulated investment funds offering attractive returns to investors under an exemption in the law. The regulator has given promoters of the products barely a month to come up with extensive information about how they market them and to whom. There's been huge growth in syndicated products property and agricultural funds offering 8 to 10% returns as an alluring alternative to low-yielding fixed interest investments. All the offers take advantage of a section in the Financial Markets Conduct Act allowing promotion to wholesale and eligible investors. All the offers take advantage of a section in the Financial Markets Conduct Act allowing promotion to wholesale and eligible investors. Investments can be offered without the usual disclosure requirements that underpin regulated retail products. This is NBR This Week, the past week's top 5 business stories from NBR Today. From Tuesday, the National Party's leadership change. At his first press conference since becoming leader, Christopher Luxon emphasised that he was new to Parliament and rather than seeing it as a negative, it was an advantage. Our political editor Brent Edwards was at that press conference this afternoon. He joins me now from Parliament. So the National Party, Brent, have a new leadership team. How did it go, that press conference? It surely must have had to have set the tone for them.
Yeah, look, Christopher Luxon was pretty impressive. He was direct and quite fluent, and he made that very strong point, as you said in the introduction, that he was a new broom, and a number of people have talked about that. He's only been in Parliament a year, and will that inexperience be a big disadvantage for him? And he says not, and partly it's on the basis that we know for the last 2 or 3 years at least, the National Party has been riven by division, disunity and leaks, and really what Christopher Luxon says is he comes in as a new broom. He's not really connected with any of that stuff, so that's gone. As a new leader without any real involvement in it. And I guess, Simon Bridges was seen as a potential competitor, but pulled out earlier in the day and gave his support to Christopher Luxon, because if Bridges had got the job, it still would have raised all those questions about who's for him, who's against him. So in that sense, Christopher Luxon does come in with a clean sheet.
And Nicola Willis, his deputy, how does that play out for the electorate, that team, the combination?
Well, I guess one of the things, if you've got that mixture, Christopher Luxon's from Auckland, Nicola Willis is from Wellington. He's obviously a man, she's a woman. But also the question that was raised with him at the press conference, he is quite religious. And although, as he said, he's going to represent everyone, people shouldn't be elected on their faith or not elected on their faith, and he doesn't expect his faith to play a part in his politics. But given that, he's seen as conservative, Nicola Willis is seen as coming from the Liberal wing of the party. So I guess they're sort of covering off all of those areas to try and present a leadership team that is as broad-based as possible.
You've been around this a long time, Brent, so you're the right man to ask. How did it feel from your point of view?
Oh, look, it was in the end, given what happened last week and, just how awful that was for the National Party. Today, I guess, was in the end a very sort of kind of professional shift to a new leadership team. But the big question is, not so much how well will Christopher Luxon lead, and I'm sure he'll make some mistakes, as every leader does, no matter how experienced they are. But will he have the full support of the caucus? Now, previous leaders haven't. So while he says he's a new broom, and that's all in the past, that is going to be the big test that over the next weeks and months. Will that division and disunity and leaking that we've seen in the past, will that actually then disappear? That's going to be the big challenge, I guess, for him to help ensure that happens. But actually, it puts a big responsibility on the other MPs. Will they do their job and support him? That's the unanswered question at the moment.
This is NBR This Week, a brief look back at the week's top stories from our daily business video news bulletin, NBR Today. From Wednesday, a debut IPO. Deep tech investment firm Matu Group is satisfied with raising nearly $580,000 through an IPO of its Matu IPO fund via new SME-focused stock exchange operator Catalyst. The inaugural IPO on the Catalyst platform closed on Monday, raising an indicative value of $579,580 from retail investors in return for shares in the Matu IPO fund, in turn investing in the Matu Karihi, and hold stakes in 12 companies in the biotech, agritech, robotics and medtech sectors, including Mykonos, Elemetry, Powron and Ligar. Matu had sought as much as $1 million, the maximum allowable under Catalyst's rules. But its director, Ken Erskine, said the capital raised beat his firm's conservative internal forecast of $500,000. This is NBR This Week, the past week's top 5 business stories from NBR Today. From Thursday, Simon Bridges, new role. New National Party leader Christopher Luxon has appointed former leader Simon Bridges as the party's new finance and infrastructure spokesperson. It comes just 2 days after Luxon was confirmed as leader following Bridges' decision to withdraw from the contest. Bridges decided that after meeting Luxon on Tuesday morning before the scheduled caucus meeting that afternoon to choose the new leader to replace Judith Collins. Luxon told reporters at his press conference that afternoon he had done no deals to win the support of MPs and that his discussions with them had revolved around strategic direction of the party, not what jobs they should get. This is NBR This Week. Now we're up to Friday's top story. Parliament's Environment Select Committee has recommended changes to the housing supply legislation to ensure the intensive housing it would enable has more outdoor space and allows more light into properties. Critics of the Resource Management Enabling Housing Supply and Other Matters Amendment Bill had said it would lead to slum-like outcomes with cramped conditions and developments that block the light from neighbouring properties. Under the legislation, which was developed under a bipartisan agreement between the government and the National Party, three-story homes will be able to be built on each section. That remains the case, but the Select Committee is arguing for more outdoor space in each development, as well as a reduction in height near the boundaries to ensure sunlight is not unnecessarily impeded. That's our review of the week's top 5 NBR Today stories. You can find the full versions of those stories and more with all our daily breaking business news, columns and opinion at nbr.co.nz right now. Saturday at NBR, in Fact or Fiction, Brent Edwards and Grant Walker debate the new National Party leadership, while in his Sunday book review, Neville Gibson looks at whether the rich should give more to the poor. I'm Paul Brennan. Thanks for watching NBR This Week. Have a great weekend. I look forward to being with you again from Monday for another NBR Today.